to Kingdom of Honor Does Pop Culture. I am your host, Zanman Shane Sabuni, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff, and we are here to talk to you about The Island. And but I was going to start with something called Shane's Poker Corner.
You know, the
I,
worst
uh,
thing, I
I,
was gonna say the
I've,
worst
I've,
thing
always,
about
I've always,
this,
yeah,
yeah, I can hear the tears in your eye, in your voice.
yeah, I bet you can. I can hear your eject button beeping in the
Yeah,
background.
I know, I got a new one coming next week.
So,
And of
um,
course, it just started doing that right now, so.
yeah, of course I did. So, I was gonna, give. I've always been a huge fan of. Well, I shouldn't say always, but since like 2002, when the big Texas Hold'em craze started, I've been a huge fan of playing poker, and uh, and so I've been doing that. And like recently got back into playing it on a poker app called Poker Heat. And right before we started, I went all in with Ace King, and I hit a king on the flop, and when a guy had raised the pot pre-flop, and it was like 8 King 4 or something on the flop. So he bet, and I raised him, and he called. And then on the turn, it was like a deuce, so I went all in, and he had pocket eights to my king with an ace kicker. So that was just fucking brutal. So I don't think I want to give advice tonight to anybody playing poker. So we'll skip that part of it.
Or from the sounds of it, anybody that wants to watch TV.
Well, that'd be you.
Anyway,
I would like to give advice not to listen to Jeff's recommendations for television.
hey, I didn't think it
There
was
there there
horrible.
there were there were some of my recommendations for movies. I'll tell you that much.
I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was great, but I did not think it was horrible.
Okay,
Ah,
you
that
can
was
keep
all I had
on
on that.
not thinking that if you want to.
Yeah, that
Ah,
was
okay.
pretty much all I had on that. It was not great by any stretch. I mean, I was expecting, I guess maybe I was expecting something different. Um, I personally, I feel like they kind of let us in a little bit too much on the secret too early in the series. I mean, it was episode 3 when they kind of let us in on the secret. I think that might have been too early. Um, there was some inconsistencies, there was some bad acting. I remember at one point screaming at the TV when they kept calling her a liar, and then there was a scene where, and what I'm talking about, why don't you break down the whole gist of it before we really, I guess,
Okay,
get into
sure.
breaking it
So
down?
sure. So this is The Island on Netflix. It debuted in September of 2019, and just like me, the series was heavily panned by critics. It's going to be heavily panned by me. I'll tell you that much. I would say like I don't know, 10, 12 strangers maybe. Jeff wake up on an island.
It's 10.
They don't know, um, where they don't know, how they got there. They don't know what's going on. They don't know who they are. They have no memories. And it starts off with like who I guess is the main character, um, Chase, and then she encounters Kate Bosworth's character. Um,
Casey.
was it? Yeah, it was KC. KC, like the Kansas City K is in Kite, C as in Charles, which you find out later stands for Kid Killer. So that's just wonderful.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
What a delightful nickname to have.
I'm not gonna lie, that little revelation was kind of tough to watch.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. Um, and um, Kate Bosworth is probably the biggest name act. Well, definitely is the biggest name actor in this show, which was why it was so surprising that she was the second worst actor out of all. The only one that was worse was the guy that played the guy that died in the second episode.
I think the problem with Kate Bosworth's character is that there really was no character. It was she was just such a bitch. From,
Yeah,
the first second she was on the screen, she acted like she had no personality. And then when we started to reveal her memories and found out that she actually had a story, for her to come across the way that she did was really confusing. Like
yep.
I don't understand why she played her character the way that she did.
I don't know, but it was pretty awful.
I mean, one of the things about this, and he kind of got the gist of it. You know, it was 10 strangers wake up in an island. They have no memory of of anything that's going
Oh yeah,
on.
well yeah. I was supposed to get the synopsis, wasn't I? Okay,
Yeah,
so
we were
so
working on
um
that.
so it turns out that that these are all prisoners on death row who have volunteered for a new pilot program where it's virtual reality, and if they can redeem themselves on this island, then it's possible that they'll be released and proven to be been redeemed in the public. Now, the big twist that I thought really was a failure for the show. I mean, not I shouldn't say a failure for the show, but to me meant that it could have been a much better show. Is that they've actually been in prison for 25. Well, the main character's been in prison for 25 years,
Right,
and to me, that's where the story is. The
right.
story isn't what we saw. The story is, I mean, this entire thing could have been what we saw in this show could have taken place in like one or two episodes, and the rest of the series could have been about her adapting to life on the outside after being in prison for 25 years, waking up into a whole new world, not knowing who she is, trying to find her identity. I mean, that to me is what
Well,
this show could have been.
I think where the biggest misstep was, and I started to say this, but in episode 3 we found out that she was a prisoner. Episode 3 we found out that this island was a hoax and it was all in her mind and blah blah blah. I felt like that was the big reveal, not the fact that she'd been in prison for 25 years.
Right. The show
They
treated that she'd been in prison for 25 years as a big reveal. What I'm saying is, I think a better show would have been how does this how does this person who she's had her memory wiped, she doesn't really remember who she is, and then she finds out her husband has framed her for murder. Well, didn't necessarily frame her for murder, but didn't admit what he did, so that they were both charged for it, and she was in prison for 25 years,
right.
and now trying to adapt to a changed world where
Which by the
not
way,
even.
makes absolutely no sense how she would have gotten thrown on death row for a simple murder that she had no part in being. Like there was nothing that would have there was no there would never would have been evidence unless he physically planted evidence framing her too. I mean, the justice system would have gone through and done their uh crossed their I's, dotted their I's, crossed their T's before they put somebody on death freaking row
Yeah,
for a single accidental murder. That wasn't even kind of really a murder. It was more of a self-defense type thing that shenanigans just kind of happened and it turned out not the way it should have. But for her to be on death row for something that she wasn't even in the room when it happened is kind of or not even in the house, not even, I mean, miles and miles away from when it actually happened is kind of a leap into something that probably wouldn't have made any sense to begin with. But regardless, I mean, if they had continued down on the path where they were making us guess, kind of like a Lost type of series, where they were making us guess, what's this clue? What's that clue? Where'd that come from? How'd this happen? What's going on here? For six, 5, 6 episodes, then maybe had the reveal that it was
hmm
actually her in a prison. Then she goes back and gets the confession. Then she comes out, and the last couple episodes are maybe it's a 10 episode season. The last couple episodes are her getting back to real life while
right.
all this is still going on. It would have been so much better. But the fact that they M. Night Shyamalan'd us and gave away the ending way too goddamn early really took this down a notch. I'm not saying it was horrible. I think you called it the worst television show you've ever seen in your life. I don't know if I'd go that far. I really like the premise. I like the story that they could have told. I just think the execution was horrible.
Yeah, no, the premise is great. I don't dislike the premise at all. But yeah, I thought it was very poorly done. And I thought, and even if the show had been perfect, the acting was just terrible to me.
Oh, it was bad.
I didn't think anybody in that show could act.
I thought Chase did a
Other
decent
than
job.
I would say other than the main character. I mean, but I mean when Kate Bosworth, I know I've seen her in something before. I looked at her. I was like, And I just could not believe how terrible she was at acting.
It just, especially when her characters was so different. Like everybody else, at least they had somewhat of their normal character, like the Death Angel or whatever, that I can't remember what her name was, but she at least had that nurse instinct, and Chase had the military instinct, and the stalker guy Donovan at least was still a stalker, and Brody was still a rapist. I mean, they all had parts of their character left. But
Hmm.
when you watched her
Her
character,
name was Blair. The Death Angel was Blair, by the way.
Blair, okay, but when you watch Casey's character, her character when she
Hmm.
had no memory was 180 degrees different than her character when she was out and about before all of her stuff happened.
I don't know. She was pretty much of a bitch at that bar too. You
She
know.
was a bitch, but she wasn't so. She at least seemed to have some kind of personality. Where on the island, she just was like stone cold, didn't fucking blink or anything, always had to make herself appear better than everybody else. She didn't seem that way in the island. I mean, in her memory, she seemed like a lost little person who I don't know why she took the way route she did. I don't know if I could ever. Now I know damn well I could never do that, but it was still just a. It seemed like it was such a departure from what her normal character was in her memories, where everybody else seemed kind of on point. Like you kind of see, oh, okay, I get that, I get that. Okay, yep, I see that. I see where that came from. Where But with her, it was a complete change.
Yeah. The other thing, and Jeff, I don't know how you feel about this, but the one thing that really bugged me about this show, and it happened very early on. I think it was even in the yeah, it was like probably like the first half of the first episode. Um, I hated the way that everybody reacted to Chase accusing, um, not Chase. Yeah, no, it is Chase.
Yeah,
Chase
it was Chase.
accusing
Brody.
Brody of trying to rape her.
Right.
You know, nobody believed her. Um, and even at the, and they were kind of like holding her back from attacking him. They all seemed to take Brody's side with no evidence, you know, to back either one of them. I really hated that. I thought like, you know, why wouldn't you give this girl the benefit of the doubt? You know, why would you just assume she was lying? And then in the next episode, um, you know, there that you know when Cooper punches Brody, then then two other guys hold him while Brody punches him not once but twice.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and it wasn't.
I really thought that you know that, and this is what I told you. Like I thought that that everybody in this show made the absolute worst decisions at all times.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I think my favorite little tidbit was here's Chase. She's calling Brody a rapist. Here's Chase. She's telling them, I found this. I think this is happening. There's something here. Something's going on over here. This is happening. Oh, I just came back from this, and this is what happened, and we're actually prisoners, and blah, 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 blah. And they kept calling her a liar. And
Hmm.
then Bonnie and Clyde came out and admitted that everything that Chase had told them was real. And they realized that, okay, she's not a liar at all. But then they looked at her and said, we can't trust you because all you do is lie. Why can't you tell us the truth? And I'm like, really? She's been the only one who has been telling the truth the whole time. It's been confirmed that she was telling you the truth, and you still think she was lying?
Yeah, they're all stupid.
It was just like, wow. I was blown away by that. That was one of those things where I literally, my mouth just dropped open. I was like, really? That's the direction you're going to go? Not anybody saying, hey, you know what? I'm sorry we didn't believe you. We get it now.
and and not that he was a better actor than anybody else in this show, but my favorite part is that this was probably the over the top performance by the warden. I thought
Oh, yeah.
he just chewed the scenery in every scene he was in, and it was so enjoyable to me.
Yeah. And
Uh,
even once he was on the island himself,
right.
it just, everything he did was great. But yeah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't good. It definitely had its flaws. I don't know what more to say other than that. Guys, I'm not going to recommend it unless you've got 5.5 hours to waste of your life and you feel like doing something, um, I don't know, special, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure if special is even the right word for it. It's a pretty terrible show.
All right, if you have 5.5 hours of your life that you just feel like giving away, go ahead and watch this. You might get some enjoyment. I mean, Chase is hot, so there's that.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's not like you get to see her tits and ass. She's in clothes the whole time.
yeah, some of us have imaginations. The
Yeah, but
prem,
yeah, but you can watch porn for free, and you don't need to use your imagination. You can actually see what's going on.
I like my imagination.
I don't.
I've watched porn. I've watched porn in HD. I do. Um, the I mean, it's a really cool premise. I really like where they're. I really like what they were thinking of, and it kind of does give your mind a chance to kind of run with things and go, "Oh, okay, well, this is kind of cool. What if this really was the way things worked?" And blah blah blah. But when you start looking at all the plot holes and um the, the jump starting of stories, like I mean, they M. Night Shyamalan us in The Village. They literally gave away the plot or the big reveal as the chick is being chased down in the woods by the monster, and they were telling us that the monster's fake. That's how I felt about this. They gave away the plot or the big reveal way too early. They had so much of a story left with her trying to convince people that this was really a game. They need to figure things out, and them finding stuff here and there, kind of like kind of going in the lost direction. Where the first couple of seasons, nobody really understood what the hell was going on in the island. They had a chance to do that in the first 5 episodes before they had their big reveal,
Yep,
and they didn't. They jumped out of it after episode two, right in the middle of episode two.
that's not a bad comparison at all. Yeah, yeah. If you want to watch a show about people stranded on a desert island, Lost is the deserted island. Lost is the one you want to see.
Yeah, because at least that went on for 3.5 years before we kind of figured out what was going on. Actually, it was
Yeah.
more like four. It wasn't until the end of season four, was it, when we met Jacob?
I think it was season four. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was in season four.
Because season five was all about Jacob and whoever Locke's character became.
Yeah. My favorite episode though is the last episode of season three, Through the Looking Glass.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing one.
Yeah.
I
Where
still,
we're not where the two greatest lines in there are, I came in my invisible submarine. Don't you see it? And we have to go back, Kate. We have to go back.
was season three the one where they ended up in um back in the 70s, or was that season four?
That was season four. Season
Okay.
three is the one where we find out that the last episode, Kate and Jack and a couple other people are back on, or have escaped the island. And my wife was never a losty, but when I told her about that episode, I said, um, "So I just watched the season finale of Lost." She said, "Yeah," and I said, "If I were to tell you they got off the island, would you be surprised?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "And what if I told you they have to go back?" She's like, "What the fuck?"
I think my favorite was when they first discovered the bunker. And I can't remember. I was watching something recently. Um,
Oh my God, we're like the first 5 or 6 episodes were of
yeah,
that season were second season were the same thing, just from different perspectives.
yep, I loved it.
Yep.
That
Okay.
that might have been my favorite. Michelle Rodriguez in that was amazing. That might be the only thing I've ever really liked her in. Um,
You didn't like
but
her in Fast and Furious?
not really. She
Okay.
was probably the weakest link of all of them.
Okay.
But I can't. God, there was a show I was just watching recently, and it's annoying me because I can't think of it. But they pulled a Lost reference, and they basically said, if Lost taught me anything, it's to stay away from bunkers with numbers on them or something like that. It had to have been Arrow or something like that, but it just was, it was a really funny line that brought me back to that.
It sounds like it'd be on Arrow for sure with the bunkers they have on there.
If I learned anything from Lost, it's to stay away from bunkers that have numbers on them. Just made me laugh a lot. But yeah, if you're gonna watch a deserted island where people are waking up and not really sure what's going on, watch Lost.
Don't watch The Island.
No,
Or
just
as
don't
we
waste
find
your
or
time.
as we found out in the like the next last episode, it's actually the One Land.
Yeah, because there's a two land that has a cannibal.
Yeah. So the I is actually the Roman numeral one.
You know, and
We just spoiled it for you guys. Sorry.
that's another thing that really was like a what the fuck moment was when they were talking about they're trying to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the warden has corrupted this and is trying to make something, make this fail and has, written bad code to make all these problems exist.
Yep.
And they're talking about Taylor is stuck on the other island with the cannibal. We never wrote a cannibal. Where'd that come from? And he gives a thumbs up with a weird smile and just goes, "That was a great idea, wasn't it?"
Yeah. Something like that.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you just implicated yourself. Literally just implicated yourself as to being the one tampering with everything. That's the whole thing they're trying to prove, and you just got a big smile and thumbs up and was like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I take credit for that.
Yeah. He was a little bit of a dummy.
It was just
No question.
there was way too many moments like that where it was like, what, really? Real people don't do that. It was just there was just too much of that, I think was the problem. But I mean, the premise is great. I would like to see it done better. Maybe save the big reveal until the end of the series. Maybe not have the warden implicate himself in the middle of the series. Maybe not have um, you know such abrupt changes in character between the island. Smooth it out a bit, but I think it could have been. Maybe it was a direction. Maybe it wasn't the story. Maybe it was the direction that was the problem. No, it was the whole thing. You're right. So again, yep, I'm not gonna recommend this to anybody, but there it is.
Yeah. I would not recommend to anybody either, especially not you, our loyal listeners. Please don't watch this piece of trash.
But if you're gonna waste your time, make sure you watch The Last Days of American Crime right after it, just so you can be in as much torment as we were. Anyway,
Yeah, but I'm not saying the Last Days of American Crime was good necessarily, but at least it only took about half as long to watch it as this did.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, and there too, the most likable character was a villain. Uh,
And also, when we watched Last Days of American Crime, New Japan wasn't back at that time yet.
that's a good point too. Yeah, yeah. So what are we doing next?
I think we decided we're gonna do the Warrior Nun next, right?
What kind of fresh hell are you gonna put me through now?
Uh, Catholic.
Warrior Nun, what can go wrong here? All right. So
Oh, I did.
guys,
Speaking of Warrior, I should probably mention this too. This is pretty funny. I don't think I've told you this yet, Jeff, but I was over. No, I know I didn't tell you this. So I brought Rhaegar over with me. I remember bringing Rhaegar when I go to my parents' house to visit. And on Friday night, my parents had invited me over to hang out with them and then watch the fireworks in Aurora. And so I did. We were playing cards, and we look up, and Rhaegar's running out of the kitchen with a carving knife in his mouth.
interesting.
My little puppy. So I told my dad's like, "You get that knife away from him." I'm not. That's a dog with a knife. I'm not taking it. And I said, and I told my wife yesterday. I was like, "Yeah, if he had done like a backflip and landed like perfectly on the couch, I would have taken off running from the house because like that's like Ninja Dog then."
Ninja dog. Ninja dog. That's horrible.
Thank you.
I can't get
We,
this
we
goddamn app to open up, by the way.
no.
This poker app.
Oh really?
Yeah, it keeps dying on me. I've restarted my phone now 3 times.
That's weird.
Yeah, it won't work on my phone. I'll try it again. I'll uninstall it, re-download it. Maybe it's your stupid link that got me. Anyway, guys, if you're listening to us live, we appreciate it. If you're not listening to us live, we'll bully on you. Do us a favor, go ahead, hit that like button, ring the notification bell, hit the subscribe button. We're going to be doing this. I think we're kind of hitting our groove again, so we'll be doing this. Uh, at least this YouTube series of pop culture once every couple weeks. In 2 weeks, we're going to do. Are we going to do the full series, or do you want to do half of it next week, half the week after? How do you want to run that?
We could do half next week, half the week after.
All right, let's do that. We're going to try to get back to doing this every Monday night for the pop culture series. Of course, Kingdom of Honor comes live not only on here but on Lords of Pain, on Lords of Pain's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/LOPCalvin. And that'll be tomorrow night. It's going to be NJPW talk, and it's been kind of a quiet week this week in the wrestling world. Outside of NJPW, not a whole lot has happened. So unless some breaking headlines come up in the next couple of, well, next 12, 24 hours, we're probably going to do a couple more Mount Rushmores. And then we have a Fighter Fest Night 2 coming to you on Wednesday night after Dynamite goes off the air. And then, back around next Monday for the first half of Warrior Nun, which I'm excited for it because I like warriors. I like nuns. This should be good.
Indeed.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Stay tuned because we're going to be releasing on our Patreon Macho Man as part of our deserted island, deserted, but it would
Deserta Island.
deserted because as much as I like dessert, it's got to be deserted.
Yes, what you just said.
Long days, pleasant nights, blah blah blah. Goodbye, guys.
Bye. Have a good night.